There are some men who build with bricks and others who build with thought and truth. In today's episode of Sitting with Wisdom, we are joined by Corey Dennis, a U.S. Navy veteran, a visionary, and a strategist and quiet revolutionary. His mission is far deeper than his business. From the streets of Bridgeport to boardrooms and blueprints, Corey's life has been a testament of discipline, transformation, and legacy. But behind every calculated move and community blueprint is a man still unfolding, still evolving, still questioning, still building. We will explore the architect of purpose, the inner battle of a deep thinker, the hidden way of leadership, and the power of becoming again and again. If you're navigating what it means to lead, to love, and to leave something lasting behind, this conversation will speak to you. So take a breath, open your heart, and sit with the wisdom of a man on a mission who's still building. So today we are welcoming a Navy vet, an entrepreneur, a father, a businessman, and I would love to go ahead and welcome you.
I appreciate it. Appreciate being here. Great opportunity.
So to get into it, I know you told me in some of your bio that you earned a GED and then went into the Navy, right?
hmm
And then you have the focus of entrepreneurship now that you've left.
Yeah. So,
How'd you get into it?
well, I think the GED, me dropping out of school, I really had a lot of aspirations greater than my environment. So, my environment necessarily wasn't bad. It's just the fact that I just felt like I wanted some more. Kind of got bored with school, and then I started to think more about what could, uh, I wanted better. So I just started striving for better in different aspects. And it didn't necessarily line up in school. So GED, that's funny about the GED. I learned a lot in that class. It was only like a 3 week class, but I learned a lot about myself. And it was about just being your own boss and actually being self-paced because they didn't really care if you graduated. You know what I mean? I paid the money,
Right.
and if you want this certificate, you got to go get it. So that was kind of my first introduction to kind of like, all right, let me do this work myself. So that's kind of where it started.
So when you look at it, going in to the military, leaving school, like, did you have any inkling of what you were aspiring to? You just knew you wanted more.
Well, the biggest thing is for me was I was running away from home. I hated home. One thing, people say, "Oh man, you joined the military. It was, patriotic." And no, had
Mm.
nothing to do with patriotic. Had everything about me being able to survive in a situation where I could thrive. When I got in the military, I was happy. So when I went to boot camp, I was like, "This is it." Based off of where I came from and what I was going through, um, this was an oasis for me. So I embraced it more so than anything. Kind of a regiment, knowing what I was going to do, who I was going to be around, what the expectations were. So it kind of set some, arbitrary goals for me. It helped me kind of guide, put me on the rails where I wanted to be.
Mhm. So you think it's important to have a vision, or do you think it's okay to jump even though you don't have a clear vision?
Well, I think, as we go through these life cycles, I call them, um, the vision changes. Just like our natural vision, as we get older, it starts to diminish or it gets clear in a lot of ways. So if you lose vision, you start to hear better, you start to feel better. So it wasn't necessarily I was on the vision, my vision or my purpose was kind of clear. I think it's more or less that where you are, just own it. And I had to own where I was. I didn't want to go on. Uh, Life was just turbulent at that particular time. They gave me a paycheck and I was like, all right, cool. So you telling me I get to eat every day and I got a place to stay and y'all gonna play me rain, sleet, snow. every 2 weeks, I'm cool. So it was more of a clarity thing for me, not necessarily just, all right, this is where my goals are. I want to do 20 years. I only wanted to do 4 years and get out. So, it wasn't necessarily about vision. It was just more about where I am now and what can I accomplish at this particular time.
Okay. So what does building look like on a soul level for you?
Building on a soul level is the biggest thing is I am at this age, it's about legacy for me. Um, um, if I'm building a legacy, there's things that can't be broken. And as I go on, as I get older and can't do the robust things that I like to do, my legacy is set. Meaning the fact that somebody's walking in those footsteps that I've already carved out for them. So, with my four boys, I teach and preach legacy all across the board. Even if it's not necessarily what I do,
Mhm.
but I need you to do it how I do it. Meaning the fact that with vigor, tenacity, um, a willingness to be able to conquer and destroy anything that's in front of you. Because I believe in diversity across, in my legacy, but at the same time, just be the best version of who you can be as fast and as hard and as vigorous as you possibly can be. So that's building for me. Um, Legacy, networking, coordination, unity, anything that builds a community. So I'm
Okay.
a community based guy.
Like it. I like it a lot. What have you constructed within yourself that the world can't see?
It's a very good question. Um, I think being in the military, coming from where I came, created an outer structure that was so hard. Um, I'm just building a little bit more vulnerability. Um, and I know it's hard to say, uh, kind of hard to equate. It's not a tangible thing, but I think sometimes now when I built this wall of comfort around me, I just want to be vulnerable, and I have to build on that. Vulnerable to the right people, vulnerable in the right situations. Um, and with my community, I can be. You mean in the fact of if I built a strong enough community, I think I can be very vulnerable in that aspect. Because I don't have to be strong, because somebody can be strong at that particular time.
Gotcha.
So that's more of the building blocks of what I'm striving for right now. It's just taking the armor off and saying, all right, build that, and then know how to be wrong, who to be wrong to.
Uh, Those are very key.
Hmm.
Vulnerability is, I think it's a secret sauce because
It
the
is.
moment that you can really take armor off and present yourself as your true self and your true nature, it is, you really get to see the beauty of a person.
You do. And I think a lot of humbleness comes in it as well. Being vulnerable requires you to listen, um, be attentive, and ultimately be humble. Because if you're vulnerable in that state, you have to be able to take your environment, people around you at face value. That's the raw you. So,
Yeah.
I want to be in that space where when I'm behind the enemy lines, hard, I'm tough, I could do this. But when I come home or if I'm in a safe space, I want to be, I missed it. I didn't get it right, man. What do you think? Nah, you didn't get it. You didn't get it wrong. But there's some things you could have corrected. Oh, cool, cool. All right, cool. So for the next time, because we're battling the world each day, every
Yeah.
time we walk out the door. So I just want to make sure that I have the lessons that I've learned from the previous day with the vulnerability. I don't want to come where I know what I did wrong. I know what. No, let me experience what I did wrong with the people around. That's
Like that. So, what is what do you think is important when it comes to Black men in the community as far as vulnerability? Like, how can they find areas or people that they could, be vulnerable with?
a very good question, and I deal with that every day. And some people call me a shock jock because I say some things that are not necessarily mainstream. I think build our women.
Mm.
And the reason why I said build our women are the backbone, the spine, the structure of who we are um, is all encompassing in that vulnerability. So I'm a very strong individual, um, and I don't shy away from that. But my wife, uplifting, keeping, building her allows me to continue to stay strong, knowing that I have vulnerability, knowing that I can just take the arm off, rest, relax. And then as a community, when it comes to Black men, when it comes to men in general, um, I think we just really need to build up our counterparts in that aspect because they're essential. They're essential to the success. Essential to um, our lineage, our legacy. Because when you build that, I think you build enough to be able to say, "When I'm down, she's up." She doesn't need to do what I do. She just needs to be the best at what she does. And when she's the best at what she does, I can fill in those holes when she's down and just build that. I'm a community guy. I'm gonna say community all the time because community is not just me want with a sign out there advocate for people. It's about making sure your family's good, making sure your neighbor's good, making sure your neighbor's kids are taken care of. We come from that area where you know the community took care of us. Mom went home, you knew you was gonna get in trouble by somebody. Right. So I think that's where we need to start building is start within as men, and uplift our counterparts. Our women are super strong and they don't have to be as strong as they need to because they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, or not say shouldn't be doing, but just out of their comfort zone of where they need to be. Like we have some beautiful, strong women. It's just the fact that there could be some beautiful, strong women partnered in a community, knowing that their counterparts, their husbands, their wives, just build. And everything I've built in my career, it's been with my wife. It's not. It's about checks and balances.
Yeah. But all right. Okay. So then that takes me into another question. So why do you feel, and you explained it to me, I understand, but why do you feel community is so important?
Oh, well, community is amazing. The reason why I say this, I spent 20 years in the military, and people don't understand one of the longest standing, you know, jobs or organizations in the world is military. And the reason why is because they built a unified front across the board, meaning that our standards are our standards. Once you set a standard or a principle as a community, it's very hard to break. It's very hard to penetrate because it's checks and balances and across the board. And you can, get five Black men with different personalities going in the same direction that can conquer pretty much anything in this world. Yeah. I don't need to do what you do. I just need you to be the best at what you do. And then when we come together, it's amazing. So I think that's what I built on because of the premise of man, the military stayed strong for so long because unity, community. Um, we're all battling on the equal plane for control. That goal is the goal. Okay. Okay. So as someone who carries wisdom and worry, how do you distinguish between fear and intuition? Hmm. Um, I think fear is an amazing thing. And the reason why I say fear is an amazing thing, people say, "Oh, you shouldn't fear anything." I don't fear fear. I just believe that fear is giving me an intuition to be able to say that I'm probably in the right place. Because let's just say riding a bike. You know, we feared riding the bike, and then but you knew everybody else was riding the bike. It's like, all right, I know what I have to do, so just do it. So intuition, they're coupled. They're on parallel tracks. So meaning that innately that you can do it, but there's an arresting feeling. It's some type of mental lock that we just get into. And I had to learn that even in the military. Here's a funny story. I was in the military for 20 years, and I still don't know how to swim.
Okay. Oh,
So, people are like, you don't know how to swim. I spent 20 years in the military, don't know how to swim. Yeah, I didn't know how to swim because the whole purpose was not to swim. If we're swimming, there's a problem. Um, but as I vacation all around the world, do different things, I jump off cliffs, jumped off boats, and understanding the level of fear and understanding the level of community that I have around me,
okay.
um, it gives me a level of calmness. All right. Like I said, I've jumped off a cliff. Like, man, this is not going to be good. But I wasn't in the mode where I'm like, all right, I'm saying, no, just swim to the side and you'll be fine. It's not about swimming, it's about just getting to the other side. And that's how I look at fear. That's how I look at everything that I tackle. It's not a fearful thing. It's just meaning the fact that I'm probably in the right place. And it's probably an obstacle I probably need to take care of.
Mhm.
I probably need to conquer that because God presents me with obstacles that I need to be able to overcome and or help for my legacy, for my kids to say, Dad did it. Cool. I can do it. So
Like it. So fear is a motivator.
absolutely. Absolutely. Fear, and it's all about a mental space of how you look at it, because everything's perspective. So you may call it fear, I may call it a challenge. So it's just all about the perspective. And like I said, the people around me, either they have done it or they're motivating me because they say, "Oh, you got this." And I'm like, okay. It's like my first house. One of my best friends, man, I was so scared about buying a house. I was like, this house thing, I don't know how to cut grass. I don't know what plumbing looks like. He was like, just buy the house. I bought the house and I was like, oh, really not that bad. So in our community, we think it's bigger than what it is. It's usually not.
Yeah. So how have you come to be able to shift perspective?
Failure.
Okay.
Failure is so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I probably started about 35 to 40 businesses, probably more in my head. Um, but like I said, when I dropped out, I felt like I outgrew my situation. So I always felt like I gotta do something to make my life better. So trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing forward, trying and failing forward, succeeding, failing. That journey of ebbs and flows, ups and downs, has just given me calluses to say, I only lost today. That don't mean I lose tomorrow. So today, my pastor used to always say, no is only no for today. Ask again tomorrow. Try it again tomorrow. And if we have that perspective of it's just temporary, even our nose, it's okay. Just keep going.
Uh, okay. What's something you've had to surrender in order to truly evolve?
So this is funny that you say this. I had to, you know, you know, anybody that knows me, they know I love Jay-Z. And Jay-Z's my guy. And what happens is the first album, well, the first song on 444 it's called FJZ. Meaning that you had to surrender who you are. Because everything that got you where you are right now, and you got to that dead end and say, I don't like this version of Corey, you gotta surrender.
Yeah.
You gotta let it all go. And press the reset, control alt delete, start it over, and say, let me try something different. Let me pick a different road. Because I think a lot of times we, as people, we walk down an avenue and we see our goal, but we end up at a dead end. We can see it. Sometimes you can see the goal, but you're at a dead end. And sometimes you just got to stop first, change course. So I think that, surrendering the old premise of the braggadocious, I can do it by myself. Um, Just because I'm smart doesn't mean I'm successful. Uh, you know, and intelligence doesn't equate to success. So I just believe surrendering the full version of who I was in that failure each day allowed me to be able to push past because life is a lesson. And if you ain't taking those, you're getting your GED.
Yeah, I'll take it up.
I'm just saying.
Oh, that's real.
Yeah. Gotta surrender yourself sometimes. And I'm not saying the full serve self, but there's some aspects that you probably need to check. And that's why I love community. I have a group of guys that check me, like, yo, bro, you was real off about that. What you mean? Because you could be right and wrong
Mhm.
at the same time. So I just realized that I listen twice, speak. Got two ears, one mouth, bro.
Okay, so as a man who leads and mentors others, what's one truth you wish more men were willing to sit with?
um, I think men uh I think we get a we have a premise where we know it all. And here's the thing, just because you have children and have a wife doesn't mean you know. And I think the fact of when you sit back and read more, ask more, inquire more, um, put yourself around people that know more, I think you'll be a better person. And I think surrendering and locking into people that are around you going in your direction. Um, I just think that's one of the things that I don't have to know. I just have to be in the room with people who do. And most presidents, most successful presidents, they're not the smartest.
Very
They're
true.
just the people around them. They surround themselves with smart people, and that's what you should do. Um, even I've been a mentor to a lot of people, but I got mentors. I got to look up to somebody
Right.
at all times, and you got to get your post points. You got to get your hierarchy from something better and greater than you. And I think that's what we should do as men, not just men. I'm talking about high school. Like find somebody, that piques your interest, even if it's just for a period of time, and just lock into it. And once you lock into it, you'll be able to start to see what your purpose is, see who you are. It just develops who you are. You're not going to be successful all the time, but I think in failure, you learn so much. So,
Yeah. Okay, so what are your children or mentees teaching you about becoming?
So that's a very good question. Like my boys, my children, my son turned 21 yesterday. And one of the biggest things for me is humbleness. And what it is just because I'm right doesn't mean I'm right. And when my son broke it down to me, he said, Dad, there was some things growing up that I didn't like. And it was really, you know, old school premise, slave type mentality. And I'm like, huh? He was like, yeah. He's like, that. It just didn't, it shaped me in a way that I didn't like. And initially I resisted it because we like to look at the results as success
Mm,
and we discount the journey. There's a lot of scars. There's a lot of potholes. There's a lot of things that we could have avoided just by listening, understanding, identifying where we could get better. So I think my kids teach me, and a lot of people teach me more about, it's listening for change and not listening to more or less just respond and acknowledge, but change. At 21, you think your kids are, oh, you're done, as, you know, I know in the Black community, you turn 18, you up. No,
right.
not in my world. Because I believe in the fact of I need you just as much as me. They keep me young. Why would I want to get somebody I can be vulnerable with that's gonna teach me how to be young?
Yep.
Teach me the latest understandings of what's going on in the world. What's the pulse points going on? Dad, you tripping, bro. Oh, okay. All right, all right. So, I've had some friends where I wanted to do business deals with, but I won't go on a Disney business deal without my mentee because I don't know anything about that sector. I don't
Right.
know anything about that that place where I'm at. Hey, come on in with me, bro. I may not know all of the intricate details about this, but you can keep me honest. And I think that when you bring your mentees with you in all of your journeys, even in your failures, they learn a lot.
Oh yeah.
I'm being vulnerable. They know I'm being vulnerable, and now they have an understanding of how to be able to communicate in the vulnerability. So I just think that when you have a connection with that, you always want to stay connected up and down. But like I said, keep me honest. I need them to keep me honest. And like I said, Jim, when you keep me honest, we're all honest. We're all not trying.
Okay. All right. Legacy often gets attached to wealth or status. But what if legacy is a frequency? What vibration are you intentionally leaving behind?
Um, and you're very right about that. And I think in our community, we tend to believe that what you have is who you are. Um, for in my world, we always want to aspire to have the best house, the best car, the best bank account. A wise man once said that, even billionaires jump out of billionaire bellies.
Uh, yes.
Because if there's no peace within, yourself, peace within your environment, you can't be happy. Um, I use this all the time is that, you ever see a vagabond, a bum out in the street, and you try to give him help. All right, yeah, let's get to a program, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And they're like, no.
Mm.
And the reason why I had to take a step back and say, man, why would he say no? Why would he do this? Why would he do? It's not about him being successful. It's not about him being better. It's about him being at peace with who he is. Because wherever his environment shows him his peace in that world, that's his peace. So legacy is all relative. And I think once you build a community of legacy, once you build a community that, let's just take it, for examples. For example, four black men. If I'm a doctor,
Mm.
one's owns a grocery store, one's a police officer, one's a government official. Isn't that a community?
It is.
You've just built a community within a well-organized community that we're working within each other. So I think legacy is about just how do we as a culture get better? How do we as a community get better? And you always want to leave it better than you left it. I mean, better than you got it.
Right.
So I just think that legacy is more or less about the fact of not what you're leaving, but how you're leaving. And, because I know happiness is not about a dollar, but at the same time, the Bible always says money answers all things
Mhm.
and answers all things, which is a true statement. But it also says that the money is the root of all evil
Mhm.
because we misuse money, we misuse we worship it, idolize it, and puts us in a place because I would hate to be a lonely millionaire, but I would love to be a happy thousandaire.
Yeah.
So, me and my wife, I said, I'd rather be in a one bedroom apartment, me and you eating bonbons and ramen, happy, than in a $6 million mansion. And I don't know where you at, and I haven't seen you in 4 days.
Yeah.
That's not my goal. So just balance. I think just balance and understanding that what do you want? And define your purpose.
Okay. So, what does mastery mean to you now? Not in titles or skills, but in how you walk through life.
Mastery to me means the fact that when I walk into an environment, have I left it better?
Mm.
Because it's I think life is puzzle pieces. We walk around this place and we're all filling in puzzle pieces for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not about the fact of what can I get out of the room? What did I leave it of? Did I leave it better when I left? Didn't when I walked in? And you can walk in a Walgreens, you can walk in Publix, you can walk in all these different stores with no purpose, with intention of getting carrots, but have an encounter.
Hmm.
You can walk into a place and have encounters that you weren't expecting. I've been in situations. I'm not a club guy. I've never really been a club guy, but I'll go out with a friend or whatever, and we'll get to a club, and then I'll meet somebody, and they said, "Bro, you really changed my life. You gave me a different thought process." And I was like, "That's the whole point." I said, "This is not something that was accidental. It was intentional." So being a master of who you are and the environment you're in at that time, I think that's truly who I want to be. So if I walk into Publix, if I walk into, a church, if I walk in anywhere, I may not know it all, but who I am has either given you some aspect of truth, guidance, understanding. I think that's what we all should be. Just try to improve the place that you're at. Don't take. Just improve where you're at. What can you give? I know I get more joy out of giving time, energy. Money is the lowest thing on the bottom. I'm in the scale, but I feel good when I can talk to people, encourage people, support people, just invigorate people. And I think that's what we should be doing as a people.
Yeah.
As a people.
People. Yeah. Humanity.
Humanity. So
Yeah. For sure.
how are you getting better? Did you make this environment better?
Okay. So finish this sentence.
Mhm.
A man on a mission must always.
Be true.
Mm.
So we live in a world where this thing called facts. Um, believe in facts. Facts are relative. I believe in true, honest understanding of where you are, what you are, and who you are. A man on a mission, when he's true to himself, he'll never fail. Because uh, one of the biggest things that people live with is regret. You tried to be something that you weren't. You lived in a world where you shouldn't. You've done some things that aren't necessarily conducive to your purpose. Be true. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's the hardest thing to do. But once you get the understanding of it, your life would be a lot more simple. It's the simplest your life would be. If and even an addiction, if you're true to even your addiction, like I am blank, that's the first step, right? Yeah. Just know where you're at. Just be true to where you're at. And if you don't, my pastor always says, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay not okay. Mhm. So it's okay. Just be who you are. Man on a mission, like I told you. Uh, they're hard to stop. That will. They're hard to stop. It's a purposeful life when you're true to yourself.
Okay, two more questions. If your life were a Marvel storyline, what's the central conflict and what's the hidden power you didn't realize you had until life tested you?
Hmm. Okay. Um, my storyline would be. This is a very good question, and the reason why I'm gonna say this. Um, I grew up in the '90s, and growing up in the '90s, there was a lot of colors, and I didn't grow up, looking the best, skinny, had big lips. Everybody was, I used to get clowned and whatever, whatever. So I feel like that my storyline would be, um, you know, a person who didn't have what they thought they had, and I think discovering it on that journey gives them more power. And it's almost like, no one likes the Hulk, and I'm not comparing myself to Hulk. No one likes the Hulk. He's a smart, intelligent man, but when he became the Hulk, that version of him was essential. Mhm. That was essential for his success. Um, but it also gave him a level of respect. So, Bruce Banner wasn't, he was smart, intelligent, which I was probably one of the smartest in the room, but didn't feel that way.
Okay.
Didn't feel that way. Didn't feel appreciated. Didn't feel respected. Didn't feel valued. But when the monster came out, uh, he came out kicking down walls. He came out. I will not be stopped. Everywhere I've gone, I've had conflict, which is I embrace now. Every command I've been at, conflict. But it was a gentle conflict, meaning the fact that they understood what my purpose was, or understood why I did it. Revolutionary. Always had a point. Always had a thought process outside of the norm. So yeah, I mean, I think my storyline will be very from the earth, from the muck and mire, uh, building, had the intelligence, but at the same time grew into a monster when he needed to.
Hmm.
Because you gotta be at some particular times. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good question.
Thank you.
Very introspective.
Okay, last question. What's the next evolution of Corey? What's calling you now? What scares you enough to say yes anyway?
Um, so saying yes, I'm saying yes less. No is a complete sentence for me now. I'm learning that. Um, now that I'm starting, so okay, let's go back to your last question. So we start to go through this MCU. Remember, Bruce Banner turned into the Hulk, and he was comfortable with it. He never changed back. He was now the clean cut. He wore the big suits. He was just a monster, but he was tamed. So I think that is the purpose of Corey now is being the monster, not monster, being the character that you need to be, strong, bold, courageous, but being able to communicate that well to the people that watch. And my mom used to tell me all the time, people are watching. So what? So why do you think people are watching me? She said, well, people are watching me. Um, for whatever reason, when you walk into a room, people are watching. I don't see it starting to own that, starting to recognize that. Not for what I have on here. Mhm. And then when you walk into certain rooms, there's things that go before you. So the presence, the frequency, uh, who you are, and what you've accomplished internally goes before you. And I'm starting to recognize that. So my mom always tells me, own the room. Not in an egotistical way, not in an arrogant way, own the room. Be the best version of you. When you're the best version of you, your true self in the room, everything that's for you. So I think that that version of Corey is now here. Less yes, no is complete sentence. Um, build your community within your community. And sometimes you got to step outside of that to be able to draw people in and just support people in their in who they are. Like I said before, respect people for who they are and where they are. And then, because you'll never know what you learn from them. I've learned more from disadvantaged people, people who have had not, had everything I've had. Man, I've learned a lot. Yeah. Learned a lot. And they're like, I don't want what you want. And then I, in turn, said, man, I want what you want. Because it's not tangible. You can't buy it. You just have to have it. It's fun now. But fun is what I want to have now. Fun doing the right thing with the right people. I love it. I love it. All right. So if you could leave our people with one gem, one word of wisdom, what would it be? Um, it sounds crazy or sounds cliche, just to thine own self be true. Um, I think that, there's a lot of connections that we have that we discount. Um, we've had family members, we've had friends, we've grown up, but we've never accessed the point where they said, well, what do you want to do? Like, what are you good at? What makes you tick? And I think we really need to lean into the fact that being able to identify who's around us and just lean into that. So, if you ever wanted to find the greatest idea, the greatest invention, go to jail. Mm. Oh, yeah. If you just visit some people in jail to understand their perspective on life is completely changed. But one thing, as we hustle and bustle about the world, we don't have time. What do they have? Time. Yeah. So, I think the fact of just invest in the people around you. I think that you just really have to just dive into the people around you because you don't know what they're going through, what you can help them with, and what valuable tools, what valuable gems they have. So I think it just goes back to be your unapologetic self. Take the mask off and say, I missed it. How do I get better? And as a people, just do that. And I think we're in that weird space right now in the world where everybody's putting on a mask to be better than what they are. So style. You know, you got 2 ears and one mouth, listen twice as much as you talk. But I would tell people just be true. When to thy own self be true. And run the race you need to run for you. Because I'm not as fast as you in certain areas. I don't I can't jump as high as you. Did not speak as well as you, but I've already figured it out. My kids always get me like that. Like, Dad, that's stupid. Uh, Before I used to be like, don't disrespect me. Now it's like, why is it stupid? My son explained to me why college doesn't make sense for him. I was like, okay, I get it. Hmm. So I had to listen, had to lean into what he was saying. And then I think that's one of the things that we just don't listen to the people around us. We don't know who's connected to us. And just respect and be truthful. Um, you
I love that. Well, that is the end of this episode, and I really appreciate you for coming and dropping us with some wisdom and being vulnerable.
I like this space. It's a safe space, right?
Yeah.
You know, safe spaces are what I'm starting to own and starting to um and I will say this in a vulnerable space. Um People need to hear us. Black, white, green, purple, but especially our black uh, you know, fellow brothers and fellow sisters. They just need some inspiration.
Yeah.
You can. I dropped out of high school, went to the military, had some law trouble, got married, had 4 kids, didn't know what I was doing, but here I am. So just walk the journey. Just walk it. You'll figure it out.
All right.